this week on Art of the Air, we feature longtime Region Theater Director Bobby Komendera directing his 50th show for Footlight Players. Next, we have artist Derrick Burnett, who uses mixed media to create his expressive compositions. Our spotlight is on LaPorte County Symphony's 17th Annual Hoosier Star, happening September 17th.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM and WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming at WVLP.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available on our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our shows are available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for more information about upcoming shows and interviews. And we'd like to welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight someone you've heard many times before from the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra, the executive director, who's always been with us and is going to inform us on a lot of things that are happening, but one thing that's very special. Tim King, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Pleasure to be here.
Aloha.
Thank you very much.
Well, you've got some special thing, and I think it's like an anniversary. I don't know, 17th anniversary of this, I believe.
Well, it's the 50th anniversary of the orchestra. Our season officially begins in September and goes until about May. And this marks our 50th year.
But I mean of the Hoosier Star.
Right. And then, of course, to start off the 50th year, September the 17th, which is interesting because it's the 17th Annual Hoosier Star on September the 17th. Mm-hmm. That was not on purpose. It just sort of happened that way. Our 17th Annual Hoosier Star will be held at the Civic Auditorium Saturday, September the 17th, 7 p.m. And again, we have, I know I say this every year, but we have a wonderful slate of finalists. We have 5 youth finalists, 5 adult finalists from 6 or 7 different communities in Indiana, ranging from Terre Haute to Fort Wayne. So we feel very fortunate that this really, truly is the first year that we've had this much of a breadth of area geography for Hoosier Star. And some really, really fine performers. We start rehearsing with them actually next Saturday with just piano and a drum set, or a couple of rehearsals to get them a little familiar with it. And then our music director, Dr. Carolyn Watson, will come in on Thursday the 15th, and she will rehearse with them 3 times, 15th, Friday the 16th, the morning of the 17th, and then a concert, of course, the night of the 17th. Tickets are available by coming to our website. Very simple. By the way, part of our 50th anniversary is have a brand new website as well, which I'm very happy with. It's a very user-friendly website, very colorful, lots to see, lots to read. So lcso.net. Tickets are $15 in the balcony, $5 for ages 5 and under. And you can't beat the entertainment that you're getting that evening for $15 or $5.
Oh, it's such a special evening. I love it so much.
Thank you. Well, we have, I'm looking at our finalists here, and there is only 3 of the 10 that have been in it before. None of our youth finalists have been in it before. and three of our adult finalists have been in it before. And so what we're going to do is we're going to flip it up a little bit this year. We've always had the youth finalists first and then the adult finalists second. We're going to have the adults go first this time, and then the youth go second. And then, of course, we will welcome back our winners from last year, and that was Joseph Giuliani, who won our youth division, and the person who won our, oh my goodness, she's going out, Jaron Sampson from South Bend, won our adult division. And so they will come back and sing their winning pieces for us too. So last year we changed things around. You know, we used to have paper ballots. Now we have a QR code that's going to be in the program. The people just need to bring their phones and bring the QR code. We still have some people that just absolutely refuse to do that. So we will have some paper ballots for those folks so they can turn those in. But it's been really much nicer on our accountants, Parkinson and Hinton here in LaPorte. It goes by so much quicker, and they're able to get the results so much faster this way through the QR codes. And in addition, we will be live streaming. So if you cannot attend, we'd rather that you attend, obviously. But if you cannot attend, we will have the live stream option that will be available about an hour before the concert, 7 p.m. Central Time. And we have one of our contestants whose mother is from India.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
so she has a lot of relatives that are going to be tuning in from India. So that's going to be, that to me is just fascinating that they're able to take advantage of that, and they can vote as well.
So you have an
That's so
international
special.
aspect. Yeah, that's great.
I
Yeah.
know, it's great. She just told me that. She said, well, my mother's originally from India, and we want to be able to make sure to take advantage of the live stream. So that's wonderful. But we are, as far as I know, everything's a go. As far as the Civic is concerned, there's no restrictions as far as how many people we can have at the Civic. This will be Carolyn's first time conducting. She's really looking forward to it. And we have a lot of excited people that have, well, like I said, 7 out of the 10 have never sung in front of an orchestra before. So this will be almost a life-changing experience for some of these people.
So, Tim, why did you switch the format around? Was there a reason behind it?
Well, honestly, I tend to think there seems to be almost a bigger buzz with the youth and the audience than there is with the adult. Not to take anything away from the adults, but there just seems to be a bigger excitement factor with the youth finalists. And these young ones, I mean, they're so self-confident and can stand up there, and they've never done this before, and they will stand up there and they'll look like a pro up there. And so I think it's going to be a better crescendo, if nothing else. Start with the adults and then crescendo into the youth and to the winners from last year, and then announcing the winners. We're going to try it out and see how it works.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think we need
Thank
to
you.
shake things up.
And one of the aspects is, quite honestly, is that maybe if you do the youth first, they'll leave with the parents before the concert. So that's, I mean, seriously,
That
that's,
doesn't happen.
Yeah, we're
It's
making
too
the parents stick
wonderful.
around this time.
yeah, that may work. So we're wrapping up about a minute. So what else do you have coming up after Hoosier Star?
Well, after Hoosier Star, we have our 34th annual education concerts in October, which we work with the schools. And then we open our season on November the 5th with a program called Americana, which is going to be a lot of Copeland, the Fanfare for the Common Man. And then we're going to do sort of quasi-concert versions of Porgy and Bess by Gershwin and West Side Story by Bernstein.
Yeah, West Side Story seemed to be very popular. You know, Northwest Indiana Symphony is also doing some
I noticed that.
Yeah, but anyway. So give us a recap one time about Hoosier Star, and we wrap up in the last few seconds here.
Absolutely. Hoosier Stars, Saturday, September the 17th, 7 p.m., Civic Auditorium. Tickets are $15 and $5. You can go to our website, lcso.net, to get your tickets now.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Art in the Air Spotlight. That's Tim King, the Executive Director of the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra, and Hoosier Star, September 17th. Don't miss it. Thank you, Tim.
Thank
Always
you. It
a
was a pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. This is Pledge Week for your public radio station. And Art on the Air encourages our loyal listeners to support this station by making a monthly sustaining pledge so we may continue to bring you this great program.
We would like to welcome Robert Komendera to Art on the Air. Bobby has had a lifetime involved in the arts, starting at 7 years old on stage. Theater, dancing troupes, choral ensembles, a career both on stage and behind the scenes passionately ensued. Bobby has numerous awards and accolades, and he will mark his 50th show as director in October with the production of Four Old Broads. Larry and I would like to thank you, Bobby, for joining us on the Air. Aloha, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to Art in the Air, Bobby.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're glad to have you, and it's great to be reacquainted with you. I've known Bobby for quite a few years. We never worked together in theater, but my wife has had the privilege of being in shows that you directed and everything. What we like to start our interview with is just finding out a little bit about you. I always like to say how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us about your whole origin story, like where you grew up, where you went to school, all the way along the way, things outside of theater, and then some but theater. So tell us about yourself.
I was born in Poland. I was adopted at a very early age, 6 months old, and I lived in Gary, Indiana, until 1973. Then I moved to Crown Point, and then soon after that, I moved to Whiting in the Hammond area. Went to St. Mark's grade school, went to Andrean High School. Never actually went to college. I did a vocal class at Purdue because they needed somebody in their glee club, but I had to take a class to be in that. So that's what I do with that. That's my biggest thing in college. And I've been involved with community theater, it seems like my whole life.
Okay, and so you started out doing like dancing and things early in your life, and tell us a little about that development. And then maybe like, what was your first show? What was your first?
Yeah, and did you grow up in an artistic household? Were there other theater? Was your family in theater or dance or singing?
Not at all. My mother always said, "Why are you doing this? You don't get paid." But no, my mom, dad, sister. That's the way we had four-person family, and none of them were in show business, and I'm not really sure what happened with me. But I did an early show, and all I wanted to do after that was I wanted to hear the applause again.
And you did tell us about the Garland dance troupe you did it and everything, and you made an appearance on Bozo Circus. So tell us about some of those early experiences.
Well, I was in the Garland group. It was a Polish dance group. And we danced Polish folk songs, and we sang Polish folk songs. And we actually got to appear on Bozo Circus. They contacted us from Chicago, and we went out there, and we did just one show. It was fun. It was weird being on. That was the first time I've ever was on TV. So it was a nice experience.
Very good. And then you continued singing with, the St. Mark's Singers, and I guess up until your voice changed to the low bass voice that you have now?
Well, I actually got in St. Mark's Singers only because my voice did change, and it was so low and they needed basses. So that's why I got in. I couldn't be in the children's choir any longer. So once I did that, then soon after that, I joined the Chopin Chorus. And we were scheduled to go on a tour of Poland and the rest of Europe in 1973. And now this was my first year after high school, and I had planned to go on a 2-week vacation to Florida. And my parents said, "Okay, you're nuts. This is one-time opportunity. You have to go." So I did go. I never would have not done it. It was a wonderful experience. I sang with the chorus. I was their soloist. And then 3 years later, we were invited back, but our director could not go. And so they sent me as a soloist. So I went by myself, and I took my mom with me. She had never been on a plane before, and she had came from Poland. So we went, and we actually got to visit with some of my family that I never even knew I had.
Wow. Do you still sing, Bobby?
Yeah, mostly with just with the theater, but we have a group at Footlight called Footnotes, and I've directed them and sang with them for since its beginning, which has been maybe about 20 years. So I sing with them, and I sing with the Michigan City Community Chorus.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Do you have any recordings for yourself, like some of these experiences? Like, do you have your appearance on Bozo somehow, or?
No, the only recording I have of me is a record that we made in high school, my senior year, and I have a solo in a spiritual. And I was on with all the chorus, but the only soloist I have is that. I have a lot of VCR tapes of all my shows and stuff, but that's about it.
Don't we all? In fact, I get nagged by my some of my students and people I've worked with that I have this huge VCR thing that I need to at least convert to DVD before I die. So, you did theater in high school at all? Or you did some productions?
I did. I was always involved in all the high school productions. We did 2 a year. My junior year, we did 2 musicals, which we usually didn't do, but we did Funny Girl. And then the director always wanted to do Hello Dolly, and the rights just became available. So we got to do Hello Dolly. And our cast went to see Hello Dolly in Chicago when Carol Channing was in it, and we were invited to come backstage to meet her. So that was a really neat thing. It was only about maybe 5 minutes, but it was just so neat to see Carol Channing after we saw the play.
Oh, sure. What role did you play in Dolly?
In Dolly, I played Cornelius.
Oh, I figured that. You know what? I just thought you'd make a perfect Cornelius Hackle and everything. You would be great. And Funny Girl, what did you play in Funny Girl?
In Funny Girl, I was just in the chorus for that. I used to be on the chubby side. And when I auditioned for it, I first was actually cast and then taken out of the cast. And when I asked the director why, they said they don't have fat boys in choruses in Dickville Follies. So I said, wow. I'll lose the weight. And I lost about 10, 15 pounds, and I was in the chorus. So I was very happy about that.
Excellent.
So what did you, behind the stage, what did you gravitate toward? I know in high school, you have to pitch in everywhere, but what did you enjoy backstage?
In high school, I really enjoyed building and painting the sets. I never wanted to, I design sets now, but I never wanted to be the designer. It's like, you tell me what you want me to nail, and I'll nail that. So I liked working that way, and it was nice working with the group, and we always had a lot of fun. So working that way, I didn't mind working backstage as, handing out props. I did a little bit of costuming, but not a lot. And I also choreographed quite a bit.
Very good.
So when did you get a chance in high school to direct at all?
In high school, no, but right after high school, a bunch of us formed a small group called Act 4. And we traded off doing shows and directing shows. It was funny because we did it for businesses. So they only wanted about an hour at the most entertainment. So we must have done the beginning act of Fantastics probably 20 times. And I played every male role in the Fantastics during that period of time.
You then eventually became involved both in Marion Theater Guild and the old Community Showcase Theater that was in Whiting. I think you directed at both those locations or been in shows at both those locations. So tell about some of those early experiences with community theater. Well,
Marion Theater Guild really got me involved with community theater. The guy that was playing Hugo Peabody dropped out of the show, and about 2 weeks before they opened, one of the guys in the chorus I knew, so he came and he said, "Would you come and talk to the director, because I'm sure you could do this part?" I did. He cast me, and from then on, community theater was in my blood. And over at Community Showcase Theater, yes, I directed The Mystery of Edwin Drood, and I directed Funny Girl there. I think I directed one other one, but I don't even remember what that was now. Yeah, but they were all great experiences.
Yeah, there was that one at what was the old Obies in Highland too. I think that's the one that Carolyn was involved with you some years later. So
yeah, and she was in Funny Girl. Yeah, I cast her in Funny Girl.
And Edwin Drood, I think too. So I remember seeing that.
Yes.
But But you did that for many years. You also did some other things with the Dunes Arts Foundation, which is out, of course, in Porter County. So tell us about some of the things you did with them.
Well, a friend of mine that I was roommates with was trying out for Carousel, and I just went along with them. And they asked me if I would audition, and so I said, sure, why not? And I got the role of Jigger. And that was a Dune Summer Theater, which is it was a real strange place to work because it's out in the open quite a bit, and we'd have squirrels running on the stage, and there was lots of bugs going around, and you never knew what was going to happen there. And it was extremely hot during rehearsals because they wouldn't put the air on. So you wore tank tops and shorts and hoped to deal with it.
Lots of water.
Yes. Well, and they've made quite a few improvements lately into the whole plant. We've had them on the show, and Dunes Arts Foundation, they've really they had to do a complete renovation, but there's a whole new board there and everything. Yeah. So the way
it's almost somewhat of a professional theater now. They hire their actors and directors and pay them and stuff. But we just went to see a grand night for singing, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, we talked to Steve Scott about that, and that was and that's actually kind of one of their fundraisers too. They did, so it's great. So you've also done things with Hammond Community Theater, Community Showcase, LaPorte Little Theater. So tell us about some of those experiences along the way. And did you direct mostly musicals? It seems like.
Well, I did direct a lot of musicals only because nobody else wanted to.
It's a lot of work.
I'd say, because I really do enjoy either straight shows, comedies, or dramas, but I never get a chance to do that because in the season we'll do a musical, nobody else wants to direct it, so I end up having to do it. I enjoy directing the musicals, but I don't feel like I don't get to work with a cast to really work on characters a lot in a musical. So
it's a different animal. Well, most of my career is directing musicals, and I like the challenge, but I know what you mean is you are now with a straight play, whether comedy or anything, you have a much more direct relationship as director. When you're directing a musical, you're working through choreographer, if you're not doing your own choreography, or working through a music director and maybe a separate vocal director. So you're working through other people. And so in some cases you're like one step removed from some of the direct process. So I know what you mean. But
yeah, wrong. But I've always told people, why don't you want to direct a musical? It's a lot easier. You have a choreographer and you have a musical director to take 1/3 of the work out of you. So you have some time to get away. Like right now, I'm in rehearsals and we rehearse about 3 hours a day, and it's wonderful. But I do it the whole 3 hours.
Right.
And plus, the cast also does it because they're always on stage for this show.
Bobby, how did you wind up at Footlight? Was it as a director or on stage first?
No, it was funny. I auditioned for a show, and I never got into it. And when I called the director to ask, if I had, because I hadn't gotten the call, and they said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, we precast that show." I said, "Well, then why did I audition?" And I was living in Whiting then. So I was coming to Michigan City. So I said, I'll never come back to Footlight again. Well, they were doing Oliver, and that's my favorite role would be Fagin. At that time, I think I would be too young to play Fagin. But I said, I'll audition for it. If they don't want to cast me, they don't have to. I auditioned for it. They asked me if I would take the role of Bill Sykes, and I looked at them like they were crazy. And I said, no, I only want to do Fagin, and if you want to do that, I understand. But I don't want to be like in the chorus. I don't want to be anything else but Fagin. And they cast me. And so I had a wonderful time doing that role. That's my favorite role. I've done it 5 times now. I won't be doing it anymore, but I really did enjoy doing that show.
Yeah,
in fact, we're doing Oliver next year at Footlight. And the director that's going to be directing it directed me in that 2 different times. And she said, I don't know how I'm going to find a Fagin because she's so used to me. I said, well, clear your mind because it has to be somebody else.
Oh.
It's an incredibly juicy role, too, and fun to play because you get to play something evil yet somewhat comic evil, too. That's
right.
Neat. So from then on, you've been at Footlight, and then you started doing some directing, and you also, I think, became president, didn't you, of the organization for a while?
I was president for 18 years. I just stepped down 2 years ago. It was getting time. I mean, we needed to get some new, younger people involved, because most of us are in our 60s up. And it's like, okay, the theater is going to die unless we get some young people to help us. So that was the biggest motivation to, step down and still support them and still be part of the group.
Sure.
But
so you've been a good part of it for a good portion of its history in the latter part of the 20th century and into this century and everything. So what changes have you seen in Footlight over that whole period of time?
Well, when I first started, we did not own our own building. We rented yearly at the Cool Spring Institute. And then one month they said they were revoking they wouldn't take our lease. So we had to find another place to move in 1 month. And we did. My husband and I found Central School. And we were there for 2 years. But by that time, we also found an old Subway sandwich shop. And we closed Central School like in August or July, I'm sorry. And in September, we had gutted the entire Subway sandwich. And we opened with our opening show in September. And we did it all. And the building is completely paid for through all the fundraisings that we did. So that's what it is, nice to have your own home where you don't have to worry about taking down the lights because they're having a basketball game, or moving your costumes to someone's basement because, something happened in their theater. So I enjoyed doing that a lot, making that theater happen. There's been a lot more productions. When I first started, they only did 3 shows a year, and they only did 4 performances of each show, and they wouldn't do Sundays. And I had directed Fiddler on the Roof there, and I told him, I said, this show is going to sell out, so can't we add the 2 Sunday performances? No, they don't work. Oh
my gosh.
So, and we sold out every night, and it was standing room only. I jammed people in there. And after that year, they changed it to add at least the Sunday nights.
The amazing story for never walking back to into Footlight again.
Exactly.
And you still have the residual yellow awning there that you can always spot on Franklin Street.
Right.
So you have an upcoming production, and you're involved with, and we want to talk about that and what you're directing, and tell us a little bit about it. So,
I'm directing a comedy called 4 Old Broads, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about 4 old broads that live in a retirement home, and they all want to go on a cruise. And there's a mean nurse, like a Nurse Ratched character, who decided that they can't go. So they end up, all kinds of things happen. There's a beauty pageant that happens. One of them gets in there. There is an old man that falls in love with another one of those women, and he's the retired Elvis impersonator. So there's all kinds of fun costumes and fun. It's a laugh a minute. It really is. It's out in the South, and it's only written to have fun. And I think that's what we need right now in our lives.
And who are some of the actresses that are in it?
The 4 actresses are Leslie Evans.
Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie's in it. And Laura Meyer, Susie Richter from LaPorte, and Diana Hirsch. She's from Michigan City.
Very good. Yeah. Leslie and my wife, I don't think I've ever directed Leslie in anything either, but they go way, way back. And so you're just starting production. This is going to be airing like mid-September, but you're going to open in October. So have you just started the rehearsal process?
Yeah, we have all of Act 1 blocked, and we have all of Act 2 blocked. We don't have Tuesday rehearsals. We go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so tomorrow, we're going to try running the whole show. Of course, no one's off book yet, I keep on telling them they have to be soon, just because it's so much easier when you drop the book. But they're doing a good job. They all have their characters, which is nice.
Yeah, getting off book is always the director's big moment, because then you can really start tweaking movement and expression and everything such as that. So yeah, that sounds like a really fun show with a great cast. And so you open when?
October 7th, and it runs for 2 weekends. First weekend is 7th through the 9th. Second weekend is Thursday through Sunday, which is 13th through the 16th.
Right. And talking about how to get tickets and things like that a little bit, where they can find out more information about the show.
You can go online to footlightplayers.org, or you can call the phone number at our box office, 219-874-4035.
And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $17. Children 12 or under are $12, and all tickets on Thursday's performance are $12.
Yeah, and if you get 2 tickets, though, that's where the $15 each comes in, right? 2 tickets for $30 on the website?
$2 for...
2 tickets for $30.
Yeah, $2 for 30.
So is there anything you have wanted to direct that you never have that you'd still like to do?
I would love to direct Sweeney Todd.
Oh, yes.
I always wanted to be the judge in Sweeney Todd. I wouldn't be able to do that anymore, but that I love. And I wouldn't mind directing another version of Fiddler. I've directed 5 times Fiddler, and I've only been in it once. So, but I really, really enjoy that show.
Yeah, Fiddler is one of my personal favorites. I've directed it, I think, 4 times, and I have a heart for Tevye. In fact, I was involved with the old Gary Music Theater when they did it in 1972 at Highland when I was still a student there, and Leo No was the Tevye, and I just loved his interpretation of Tevye, so it was fantastic.
I worked with Leo at Dracula at Marion Theater Guild. He was Van Hessling.
Yes. Well, I lit that show. I came in and lit that show, yes. Small world there. Well, just once again, we want to thank you for coming on Art in the Air. That's Bobby Komendera. Their show is coming up, 4 Old Broads at the Footlight Players in Michigan City at 1705 Franklin Street. You can't miss it. The yellow awning on Franklin Street, and you come see it. You can call them at 219-874-4035, and we'll have a link on our website to get there. Bobby, it's been so great catching up with you again, and thank you, and break a leg on your show coming up.
It's been a pleasure, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. This is Pledge Week for your public radio station, and Art on the Air encourages our loyal listeners to support this station by making a monthly sustaining pledge so we may continue to bring you this great program.
We would like to welcome Derrick Burnett to Art on the Air. D-Rock is an artist and educator originally from Gary, Indiana, now located in the Houston, Texas area. Art and music have always been in the forefront of his life, both disciplines shaping his ideas and aesthetics. The work D-Rock creates is a mixed media format focusing on portrait and figurative compositions, painting on all types of surfaces. The work focuses on joy and pain, and the misrepresentation that Black people experience in the contemporary sense. It addresses ideas of diversity using traditional and non-traditional ways of using symbols. It engages the viewer to look beyond their initial thoughts and re-engage deeper into the works. Derrick, Larry, and I thank you for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome. It's so good to see you in person.
Hey, how is everybody?
We're doing great. Well, we always like to have our guests tell us a little bit about themselves. I always like to say their origin story. So, Derrick, tell us about how you got from where you were to where you are now.
Well, I'm originally from Gary, Indiana. I attended Emerson School for the Visual and Performing Arts. So that was a great experience. I always had, painting and art as a part of my life. That was a good thing about going to a school like Emerson. You could participate in art every day, which is what you don't get at a traditional, high school. You don't get that every day, every year. From there, I graduated and I took actually an athletic scholarship. I was a football player. I got an athletic scholarship. I played football for a few years and then decided to go into education. And I brought back those times that I was at Emerson and I was exposed to Romare Bearden, who is one of my favorite artists. But it was very early on when I started noticing, this is something that I think I might be able to do. So outside of that, I went back to Gary. I started teaching art actually at Lew Wallace High School, and continued to make art more on the side with teaching being in the forefront. But I started to take myself serious as an artist and made more work. Eventually, I returned to graduate school. I received an MFA in painting from Indiana State University. From there, I decided to move to Indianapolis. And the current show that I actually have up in Chicago at Gallery Gouchard is actually called Journeying. And it literally covers the work that I made from moving from Indianapolis to Texas, which was my next move after I moved to Houston, Texas with my family. I'm now in Dallas, Texas, actually. We moved a couple years ago. But it's been a great journey to just pick up different things from each place that I've lived. And I've just tried to take in the culture of each area, of each city that I've been in, and try to insert myself into it as much as possible and make as many creative friends as I can.
So, Derrick, in Emerson, what did you gravitate toward? Were you painting? Were you drawing? Were you doing music? Doing all of that?
I listened to a lot of music, played a little bit of guitar, I sang, but my talent really, really showed through visual art. And I drew a lot. I started out, like many artists, you copy comic book covers. So, Marvel was a big thing, especially X-Men and Wolverine. I used to copy the covers, like almost down to the exact details of the label where it says Marvel and the price and the issue number. Like I would put all of that stuff on
wow.
there. But Emerson provided a great environment for, underserved children to thrive in the arts. And I wish we had more schools like it. And I wish more districts and more states took the arts as serious as they should be taken, because you never know where children are going to go, who they will become, if they don't have these experiences creating things.
Oh, completely. If you don't know that it exists or that you can possibly do it, or it's even a venue, it's just impossible to know. But Emerson also brought in like really quality teachers that were immersed in the arts themselves.
Yeah.
And about Emerson, Derrick, how do you feel about it going away? I mean, that's a really sad story with as forward thinking as it was to have that in Gary. It's now gone.
Yeah, that hurt. And a lot of us saw the transition, and, from a standpoint of being an alumni, I wish that the program would have continued, because there's so many kids who, don't thrive at sports. There's so many kids who don't really show, not necessarily academic prowess, but they're not like totally gifted and testing off the charts academically. They're just students who play instruments and who sing and who want to create and paint and dance. They kind of need that outlet to really express themselves and be complete.
I know they absorbed some of that into West Side. I mean, it wasn't quite the same, but there was some of that luckily survived at going over to West Side School and everything. So anyway, you tell us a little bit more about your journey. You told us a little bit about your academic things, but like where you've taught and what you've taught, and then we'll move on to your actual art itself.
Sure. I've taught. I started out in the Gary Community Schools. I taught at Lew Wallace High School. From there, I went to the school city of Hammond. I taught, of course, high school courses in both those two spaces. From there, Indianapolis, I've taught at Ivy Tech. I also worked for Indianapolis Public Schools, and I worked at George Washington High School in Indianapolis. From there, Houston, I taught at what's called Yes Prep. Oh, I forgot about Charles A. Tinley. Charles A. Tinley in Indianapolis. I forgot about this. It's actually a really good charter school program in Indianapolis for those listeners who are in the region. Indianapolis, Houston, Yes Prep. From there, Dallas ISD. But I also worked at Lone Star College. So I've been able to adjunct here and there. And I love working with both the high school students and the college students because, it helps me bridge the gap for my high school students. Like, hey, this is what you guys need to do if you're serious about, majoring in art in college. And that part I really enjoy because I can give them, great advice on, hey, you want to put a portfolio together, this is what you need to do. And now I'm at a South Oak Cliff High School in Dallas ISD, and we just won our football state 5A championship, the first that the urban schools here at Dallas ISD have had in over 50 years, I want to say.
Wow. So in teaching in high school, are you teaching like a broad range of arts, or are you focusing on like painting and drawing, or do you also have to touch on other disciplines?
I have to touch on other disciplines, but what I saved the Studio One class, which is your lower level class, I use that as a way to kind of introduce students to all of the arts, whether it is two-dimensional or three-dimensional. And then once they take Studio Two, I focus more on drawing techniques, charcoal, pastel, color pencils, non-traditional methods of drawing. When they take Studio 3, the focus is mainly on painting, and Studio 4 is more of an AP class. Those students learn how to work within themes, and they can create whatever they want, however they want, as long as they focus on their theme per semester.
Wow. Well, so the exhibit at Gallery Guichard, there are a lot of paintings there. So how do you carve out time for yourself between teaching and your own family?
That is very hard. Mrs. Burnett sometimes has to remind me to shut the studio doors and come home and spend some time with the family. But I usually discipline myself to work, not necessarily say, hey, I'm gonna lock myself in the studio from this time to this time, but I do try to force myself into doing something creative. I might have a half hour one day, I might have an hour this day. Whenever we have large breaks, I take those opportunities to do something with my family for a few days, and then I spend the rest of that time grinding away at the studio. And it's a lot of late nights, so I try to squeeze in wherever I can. And being an art teacher, it gives me a little bit of a cheat space because my students get to see me create these things that will later be in galleries and in shows. So it's perfect. It is a teachable moment, and I get to meet my quota for the gallery.
Well, I think it's such a brilliant opportunity for your students to have a working artist as their instructor. I mean, it just really is beautiful. So let's talk about the Gallery Guichard exhibit. So where do you, and the painting there's like so many paintings that I'm just so drawn to them. So where do you start with them? Like, and I would love to know, like St. Hayes of the City. It's like just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just adore Mercury as well. It's just, you just can't take, I mean, the painting is glorious, but those eyes, what you've captured in the eyes it's like just phenomenal.
Thank you. St. Hayes is actually one of my childhood friends. from Gary, and we always, everybody who grew up in our neighborhood, we all kind of keep in touch a little bit, and it just reminded me of people who persevere through things, and you never know what people are going through. This young man had a very difficult home situation, and he was at the top of his class academically, and he had several scholarship offers, but nobody truly knew that there were times where the lights were off at his house for a month or two at a time. There were no power at his house. It just brought to me like how we should do the work in Christianity. When you're a Christian, you do the work. You no matter what it is, you continue to do it. And I kind of feel as though I wanted to capture that part of the Black aesthetic, just without showing anything violent or, too preachy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. Tell us about your technique that you use. I'm looking at some of your work here on your website, and you describe it as mixed media. So tell us what medias you are mixing to create most of your work.
I use spray paint, acrylic paint, fabric, cut out pieces of paper, whether it's newspaper or text from books or from magazines, paint markers, pencil, color pencil.
Paint markers are so wonderful.
Just, I'm at a point where the media is just, I'm able to try to make everything look like it's all working together, which took years, but it also is something that I teach to, especially college students, to work your process. You'll find processes that do you no service. So get rid of them. Stop doing them. If they're not working for you, stop doing them. And only focus on the ones that are. But you also have to challenge yourself to do new things as well. And just, years after years of failing.
Right. Or just like, I go through phases where the work is really ugly until it's not,
Yeah, I call that the U curve. I call it the U curve because it's like when you're drawing a U and you start at the top and you're in love with your idea. You get to the bottom of the U and you're like, oh, I hate this. I want to destroy it. But if you keep working on it, you start coming back up. And
I know you go like, I thought this was a good idea, but why is it just not coming together?
Yeah, exactly.
So looking at your work, and it almost looks like these would be like mural-like at times. I mean, they're smaller bodies of work, but these will look like some of the things you might see as a mural someplace.
I'm definitely influenced by graffiti. Growing up in the Midwest, we're up near Chicago. There's a lot of great graffiti artists.
Right, beautiful graffiti. Yeah. I don't even know. I mean, like it's
all over the place.
Right. Yeah, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, I love, especially I have a few friends who tag, and I borrow from that language of graffiti and add it to my work. Especially some of the ones that are in the pieces, in the show at Gouchard. One of the patrons there asked me like, well, why did you draw back over this beautiful work of art that you had? And I said, that's exactly what graffiti does. It draws over and you add to what's already there because there's another beauty in what you just wrote and how you put it on top of what was already there.
It is. And you're referencing the portraits that have... Yes. Is that yeah, those are gorgeous.
Is there some new art form you haven't explored or something you'd really like to get into that you maybe haven't done so far?
I recently, and I do mean within the last year or two, I started working with clay and doing some sculptural type pieces. Just before the Gallery Gouchard show, there was a show in Jasper, Indiana, at the Thine Clark Cultural Center, and it was also journeying. So the show moved from there to Chicago. But there are some sculptures that I made in ceramic and plaster. They're busts and then they're attached to speaker boxes. So I decorated and played around with the speaker boxes. And it's funny that you mentioned the look of murals, because that's kind of where I went with it. And then I wanted to, sculpt something. So I combined the two together. And I think I want to explore that more. It was very different. It was challenging. I still feel like I suck at it, but, I'm going to continue to play around and see if I can get better.
What size are they?
They vary in size. Right now, I think the biggest one was about 3 feet, about 3 feet tall, maybe about 12 inches deep, and about 15 inches on the other side. And then the other one was as small as the desk speaker that you have. So there was a small sculpture sitting on top of it. So it ended up being about 12 inches total. And those were like 12 inches by 5 inches. I was gonna say, you could probably see those on my Instagram page, which is, and my Instagram handle is @Derrock1906.
And we'll have a link to either that or your website on our website. So, well, are you going to be coming up for the opening, or is it already, your piece is already installed at Gashard?
Everything is already installed. We did a opening the 19th, and I was there the 19th and the 21st. It was a pretty good opening, I think. I did an artist talk there. It was a good opportunity. I had worked with Andre and Fran when Andre was the curator for Bombay Sapphire Artisan Series. And that's kind of where I began my relationship with them. I won for the Dallas region back in 2013, 2014. And from there, Andre just kind of kept nudging me to, do more work. And he put me in group shows. And then they started carrying more work. And then he said, "Hey, man, I think you might be ready for a solo. So let's try it." So
cool.
Here we are.
Mm-hmm. So what's on the easel right now?
Right now, I'm looking at some older pictures of family members on my father's side. I'm working with the idea of taking some stencils, spray paint, of course, and mixing it with the acrylic and the fabric, and adding some textural designs type deal on top of the portrait itself. So I'm doing my grandparents, my maternal and paternal grandparents, and some of my aunts and uncles that have passed.
Very meaningful.
Do you think that might end up in some sort of an exhibit, kind of a family retrospective?
My hope is that just as an artist, you feel that nudge to create. I felt like this was something that I had to do. One of the portraits that's at Gallery Gashard, which is called Elevators, Me and You, is actually a portrait of my grandfather and his brother. The photograph is from the 20s, but I took my grandfather and my brother, and it's actually representing three generations of Burnett men. It's my grandfather, his brother, my dad, and his oldest brother, and then myself and my brother Thomas, who is about 3 years older than me. And we're all represented in that painting.
Yeah, that one was also completely captivating. You just can't take your eyes off of it.
Well, thank you. That was definitely heartfelt. That was my granddad kind of channeling himself back into, existence here, just so I don't forget him.
Any chance of you coming back to the region to teach?
If I would, maybe for higher education. If there was a position in higher ed, I would definitely look into it. My children might not like it because I told myself like it's a little too cold up there now. I'm used to being down here in Texas in the winter.
The chill just hit the morning air a few days ago.
Where about Texas are you, by the way? I'm just curious.
We are in Dallas. So I work in Dallas, but my studio is in between Plano and Richardson, which is a suburb of Dallas.
And did you survive the heavy rains there not too long ago?
You know what? I got stuck. That was the week. As a matter of fact, that was the weekend that we opened in Chicago. And I couldn't come back initially. I had to fly to Houston and then take a bus to Dallas because nobody was flying in the DFW.
Wow.
I have family that lives more in Fort Worth, but they got hit pretty hard. Well, we're down to our about final minute here. I want to give you a chance to tell us about how people can see your work and how long the exhibit will be at Gashard and social media, websites, and things like that.
Definitely. Right now, you can see me at Gallery Gouchard, which is in the Bronzeville neighborhood in Chicago. The show will be up for another few weeks. You could also catch me on my Instagram or add me on Twitter, which is at Derrock1906. My website is kind of long, but I do have a web presence. So if you put in Derrock Art or the artist Derrock in your search, either one of those will pop up.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we appreciate you coming on Art in the Air. That's Derrick Burnett, and he's got an exhibit at Gashard. You can see him on the web, Instagram, other social media. Thank you so much for coming on Art in the Air and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
For having me.
Everyone, look him up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
And as a reminder, if you'd like to have your event on Art in the Air Spotlight or have a longer feature interview, email us at aota@brech.com. That's aota@brech.com. This is Pledge Week for your public radio station, and Art on the Air encourages our loyal listeners to support this station by making a monthly sustaining pledge so we may continue to bring you this great program. We'd like to thank our guests this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our Spotlight interviews are also heard every Wednesday on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks to Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Radio, and Greg Kovach, WVLP's station manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. We would like to thank our current supporters and underwriters, which include Regional Art Patron Mary Levan and Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art on the Air. We rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at brech.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. You'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@brech.com. That's aota@brech.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Brechner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world